This is my laptop. Originally, it was a Onemix4s. I've done a lot of modification to it that made this to a monster. Perhaps I can show it to you. So, this is my laptop, a Onemix4s. As you can see from the top, I have glued on a USB hub or more of a laptop dock. Nothing that special. As you can see, it's routed over to the edge with adapter to the side. It's very nice, very useful. I can just plug it in HDMI any moment I want. A LAN port, display port, plenty of USB hubs. Very useful for a laptop with only Type-C ports. But the interesting part is behind. So let me explain my story first. When I got this laptop, there was a lot of issues with it. Prone to overheating, display issues, sometimes, and of course not sometimes, but most of the time the fan is very loud. And I've tried my best to reduce the fan noise by, let's say, installing external Noctua 4x4 by 10 5-volt fan, but didn't really help. It made the noise a little bit more quiet, but the Noctua fan itself made a lot of noise in a very quiet environment. As in, why did I even need to make it quiet in the first place? So, I'm in the university right now, and I need a quiet PC. And most of the time, people just get a Surface Go or something, but those performance are lackluster, and most of all, you shouldn't run Windows 11 and those things. The performance is very horrible. But besides that, I need it to be absolute silent. And let me show you the original fan inside the machine. It is this tiny fan. Oh, very small. FX, I don't know, 5-volt, 0.5 amps. As you can see, this thing is very small. The fan exit, it's only about 5 millimeters. Doesn't really help. It makes a high pitch noise whenever you run it. I hate this thing a lot. And in return, I've installed a magnetic levitation blower fan that I recycled off in different laptop heatsink that I bought for cheap from a junk shop. I was lucky enough to find a fan, which was a magnetic levitation fan that you usually don't find usually. Very nice. And you see the speakers here? Well, this laptop only has a mono speaker inside. There's nothing wrong with mono. But if I'm going to mod it already, why not just dump extra speakers on it, because it sounds better right now. There's the amp right here. This is the power rail, 5-volt, going to the hub. And this is the the 3.5mm jack that gets the audio from the laptop directly. I created this tiny little dongle here. I couldn't even call it a dongle or anything, but you can just plug it in and there you go, speak out. You might be wondering, why do I have these transformers here? These are isolation transformers that I needed to use because lo and behold, the analog ground is being shared with Type-C. And so it creates a ground loop from analog here to the Type-C, and it goes a huge buzzing noise. So I need to use a ground loop isolator. It works nice now, but I gotta find a way to make it look cleaner. And the most important part of this story is this thing, the heatsink. You might be wondering, did I just stick it on top, or what did I do with it? Well, I removed the old dinky heatsink. This thing. I wonder if I can really tell from the look of it. Let me bring a ruler out. You can see it. About 5.5 by 0.5. Well, 5mm. And usually we just kind of heatsink. There will be no issues if the system is running a Celeron or N100 or very lightweight CPU or low power. But this laptop runs an i7 1250U. I wonder why the designer of this laptop thought that using this heatsink would suffice such a power hungry laptop that creates a lot of heat. And so in return, I've, well, as you can see, desoldered it, because heatsinks are actually soldered onto heat pipes, so you can actually desolder it. And I got this heatsink. As you can see, it has a weird cover on top of it because this is originally an SSD heatsink from JEYI. And the reason why I got this is because, well, you can see there's a lot of copper fin stacks here. And it's relatively cheap. And I needed something slim and a little bit longer. I could have used these heatsinks from here, from the other laptops, but I find these not that efficient. The aluminum, not so good at conducting heat. And it's extra feet, anyway. And an interesting story about the heat pipe is when I was trying to desolder the heatsink from it, I nearly messed up by leaving the preheater on in about 160 or something degrees, and left on for a little too long that I noticed the heat pipe started bulging. These things, the heat pipe. And it started bulging, and I stopped it just in case before it bulged any more further. So I've done no damage to the heat pipe, but I had to use a hammer to stick it back in shape. It was a little difficult, but I think I got everything alright. I cannot do a performance test right now because I forgot to take the graphs, but for now, is an ideal laptop that I wish any manufacturer would actually make. Doesn't have to look this weird, but you know, with this hub internals, as they stick on the back around here, it definitely can be done. And I've seen it in older laptops. Why can't just make a powerhouse of a laptop in a small form factor anymore? It is so simple. Just make it a little thicker and I'll be alright. So I can tell by a little bit of a temperature right now. In idle mode, this thing runs at about 40 degrees. Very quiet. In fact, it runs in passive mode because the fan doesn't spin until the system CPU reaches up to 70 degrees. I wish I could change the settings, but it seems like it's hard coded in the BIOS, and the BIOS is not available for this system. When the fan is running at 70 degrees, it runs in the most lowest speed. And at lowest speed, you can barely hear it. It is very efficient. And the fan only has to run for about 5 or 10 seconds before the whole system cools down and the fan stops again. Of course, in turbo mode, you can run it and it just becomes as loud as before, but whatever, it works nice. So in conclusion, should you do this? No. This PC is expensive, an i7 version of it. I regret buying it, and don't waste your chance on this thing. I was able to do this, but I don't think anybody else can easily just do what I did. And if you're gonna buy a compact laptop, think about the design of the thermal dissipation first before you buy it, and just think to yourself, if this thing has an i7 inside in this form factor, I think that the system will break down in 1 week. Just think about that. Next time, just get i3 or Celeron version for 10-inch PC, and most of the time, it will last much more longer. But don't get a Surface Go. Those things sucks.